perception test is a way of determining a driver's ability to spot and respond to the events that are unfolding on the roads and pavements around them. Hazards should be identified before they become a reason to take emergency avoiding action. Inexperienced drivers tend to rely on their reactions, whereas experienced drivers neutralize hazards by spotting them and responding earlier. This means they do not get into a dangerous situation, leaving them no option but to brake hard or swerve suddenly. You will hear the term developing hazard. It's important to understand that a developing hazard is something that changes over time, usually in a predictable way. Neither we nor the DVSA expect drivers to be able to predict all of the hazards that occur on the road. Some, but very few events are unpredictable. The vast majority of hazards are very predictable, and you will be expected to look for evidence. Spot the early warning signs that something predictable is about to happen that might require you to react sooner rather than later. In real driving conditions, a well-trained driver continually assesses the situation around them. They evaluate where the biggest threat is coming from and drive in such a way that completely neutralizes that threat or at least limits it. That might involve slowing down, covering the brake pedal, selecting a different gear, signalling, adopting a different line around a corner, waiting or, even under rare circumstances, accelerating out of trouble. The hazard perception test has been introduced because research shows that newly qualified and young drivers are involved in a disproportionately large percentage of accidents. Newly qualified drivers make up 10% of the total number of drivers, but they are involved in 29% of all collisions, according to DVSA statistics. One of the biggest differences between experienced and inexperienced drivers is their ability to spot hazards. By undertaking specific hazard training and by applying the lessons learnt while driving, inexperienced drivers can obtain the hazard perception skills of more experienced drivers. A developing hazard is a situation that is likely to require you to change speed or direction. Developing hazards change over time. An unthreatening situation can develop over a period of a few seconds into one that might eventually cause you to perform some action to avoid an accident. For example, slow down or change lane, etc. There are many differences between the test and the real world. For example, the film you will see in the test is shot from outside the car. You will never drive your car from this position. Most of the hazards you will see in the test are staged, and therefore the situations are sometimes rather artificial. In the real world, you will have to deal with reflections from the windscreen, rain, bright sunlight, roof pillars, and blind spots. In the test, the videos are usually only selected if none of these real-life driving problems reduces the film quality. Hazards are visible to the extreme left or right and behind your vehicle. Due to the limitations of video cameras, only a small angle is shown. In the real world, you will have not only to spot a hazard, but also react to it appropriately. In short, there are some serious differences between the test and the real world. However, the skills you need to develop to pass the test are exactly the same as you will use on the road. Learning how to spot and predict hazards as they develop is a skill that will certainly save you a lot of grief, help to keep your insurance costs down, and allow you to enjoy your driving by making it less stressful. The vast majority of our footage is real, not planned or staged, just filmed as it happens. This means that our practice material is very much based in the real world. This has the advantage that it not only prepares you to pass the test with confidence, but also prepares you for the real world. The test works as follows. At the start of the test, you will be given instructions and you will watch a short instruction video. You should use this time to settle yourself, relax, and mentally prepare yourself for the test. You will then see a series of 14 video clips, each one lasting a minute. There is a short gap between each for you to relax and get ready for the next clip. Of the clips, 13 contain one scoring hazard, and one of the clips contains 2 scoring hazards. In total, you are going to be marked on your ability to spot 15 hazards. The maximum score that you can achieve per hazard is 5 points, giving a total maximum possible score for the entire test of 75 points. You will have a mouse or other button to indicate your response. As you sit and watch the video, you should click with the mouse every time you spot something that you think is developing into a hazard or could develop to a hazard. To score maximum points, it is very important that you click as early as possible. Equally important is that you click each time the hazard develops or changes in any way. The reason you must do this is that even though you have spotted the potential hazard and clicked, you may have clicked before the DVSA thinks the hazard has started to develop. You will therefore score 0 unless you click again later in the hazard's development. By clicking more than once, as the hazard develops, you increase your chance of scoring. Only your best score is kept, and so long as you do not click repeatedly, you will not be penalised for clicking too many times. As one of the clips contains 2 developing hazards, it is critical that you continue to watch the film all the way to the end, even if you are confident that you have already seen and reacted to a developing hazard. Most, if not all, of the videos contain more than one item that could be considered a hazard. Do not be afraid to click on things that you think could be a hazard. It's better to click and be wrong than to fail to click and to have been right. The scoring window for each hazard in any given video clip is defined by 2 frames. The first frame, where the developing hazard is visible to the naked eye, and the last frame, where it would be too late to respond in a safe manner. This time window is divided into 5 equal-length scoring sections in which a mouse button click would gain you a score of 5, 4, 3, 2 or 1, depending on how quickly you recognise and respond to the developing hazard. A click outside the window, before the first frame or after the last frame, will score 0 points. Some experienced drivers have had problems with the hazard perception element of the theory test because they have recognised a potential hazard before it develops and have clicked before the scoring window opens. They have not clicked again as the hazard develops. This example situation should help you to understand when to click. Driving along a busy road, you spot a cyclist ahead on the left-hand side of your lane. Further ahead in the lane, you spot a lorry parked on the left-hand side. As you get closer to the cyclist, they make a rearward glance before pulling out into the middle of the road to pass the stationary lorry. You have to slow to allow the cyclist to do so. When faced with this situation, you should be thinking along the following lines. There's a cyclist ahead who will have to pull out to go around the parked lorry. I may have caught up with the cyclist by the time this happens and have to take action. At this point, you have observed a developing hazard and should click to acknowledge that. Later on, the cyclist has made a rearward glance and is therefore likely to pull out soon. I'm close enough to the cyclist that I will have to take some action when they do. Again, this change should be acknowledged with a click. Finally, the cyclist is pulling out. I will have to slow down. Another change that you should acknowledge with a click. By clicking in this fashion, or as close to it as possible, it is likely that you will avoid getting 0 points because you click too early or too late, and that should ensure that you always get some points, as long, of course, as you don't miss the hazard entirely. We have found that some of the most able drivers find themselves scoring 0 because they click too many times, for every small hazard, and are considered to be trying to cheat. They spot hazards too early and click before the window of opportunity opens, but then fail to click again as the hazard develops. It's a skill that can be learnt easily with some practice and by following the advice given here. Obviously, if there was no cheat detection built into the test, you would be able to score maximum points for every hazard by clicking rapidly from the start of the clip to the end. Therefore, the DVSA have anticipated that the test detects that kind of behaviour as cheating and awards 0 points for it. There is a fine line between clicking enough times to be sure that you score maximum points and clicking so often that the test software considers that you are cheating. To stay on the right side of the line, follow this advice. Try to avoid clicking more than 3 times for any one hazard. Avoid clicking in a pattern. Click positively and avoid clicking 2 or 3 times in rapid succession. Remember that it is developing hazards that you are looking for. An obviously empty parked car with nobody near it is a hazard that you will need to negotiate, but it is not a developing hazard on its own. A parked car in the distance with its indicators on and its brake lights showing clearly could be about to pull out into your path, and therefore could well be a developing hazard. Try to click only on those things that are or could be developing hazards, and to limit the number of times you click on static hazards. Remember, this is a test of your ability to predict what could happen from the evidence you see around you or in the video clip. Using this software is a very good way of developing hazard perception, and has helped hundreds of thousands of people to pass first time. However, your video memory is very powerful, and nearly all of the learning and testing value in a video clip is experienced the first time you see it. The first time you see a clip, you do not know what is going to happen, and your reactions are the result of training and instinct. The second, third, and subsequent times you see a clip, your reaction will have more to do with what you remember happens than your ability to anticipate and predict what is going to happen. This is why our software contains so many clips, and ensures that you will see all of the clips once before you see any clip for the second time. We will also warn you that you have run out of new clips to see when that happens. There are two hazard perception training products in our range. One introductory package, which we provide alongside our multiple choice theory training software, and this more advanced product, which is dedicated to hazard perception. We recommend that you get both, as this will maximize the number of video clips you will benefit from, and ensure you are completely prepared and confident of a first-time pass. Be wary of practicing for long periods using clips that you have already seen before. This can lead to a false sense of confidence. Aside from practicing with software, try to get as much real driving experience with your instructor or an experienced family member or a friend as you can. To score maximum points in the test, you need to click as soon as possible in the development of the hazard, and then to click again if and when the hazard develops to become more serious or more obvious, changes in nature due to extra vehicles or pedestrians appearing, you become more certain that avoiding action will need to be taken, you find yourself stamping on the floor in search of a brake pedal. You must keep concentrating all the way to the end of every clip. Remember that one of the clips will contain two scoring hazards. You must use all of your powers of judgment and anticipation to predict or spot when a hazard starts to develop. You must not cheat, try to cheat, or click in a way that might be misinterpreted as cheating. You must practice, scan the entire area of the video scene, be observant and watch out for small movements, changes, road signs, pedestrians, bus stops, slip roads, cones, in fact anything that might provide a clue as to what is going to happen next. Try to anticipate where a hazard might develop. If it looks as though it is developing, then click with your mouse to indicate that you have noticed it. If the hazard changes, click again. The following list is not intended to be complete, but it links road scenarios to probable sources of hazard. In general, be alert to the following.